feel like people wear their Sunday best and hit up the diners in swing states with the singular goal of being on television on election day. A month leading up to the election, too. You go either to the barbershop, the one pro-Trump barbershop, or you go to the diner. If you're white, you go to the diner. If you're a black Trump supporter, you go to the barbershop, okay? With the hopes that Fox News is going to come up and point a microphone and a camera in your face, and you can say some of the most unhinged, idiotic you've ever heard.
I think just the cost of goods has really gone through the roof. So the
new
cost
poll
of our shirts, the cost
in
of
the chat.
shirts, it really gets to the point, how much can you charge for a t-shirt to your customers? So the cost of goods has really been going.
You're voting for Trump.
Dude, I love when talk about t-shirt prices, dude. Donald Trump's tariffs are going to cook you, okay? That's the only positive aspect of Donald Trump's mass tariffs, is that every single one of these t-shirt charlatans, every single one of these Trump merchandise businesses is going to be underwater. It is going to be insolvent in a matter of weeks, okay? That is the one positive aspect of Donald Trump's administration in a sea of horrifying consequences. That's the one silver lining in this process. Every single one of these dumb are like, yeah, that's why I'm voting for Donald Trump, brother. Yeah, hell yeah, I love Donald Trump. He's going to fix the prices. He's going to do tariffs. It's like, you idiot. You pay for the tariffs. You're so stupid. China does not pay for the tariffs. Where are you getting your garments from? Where are you getting your garments from? You're not getting it like me from American-made, union-made shops. Ideology.shop, by the way. The election collection is still out and available if you would like to go check that out. Union-made, America-made, okay? All of these get their garments directly from China. They don't realize that the way tariffs work, if Donald Trump slaps a tariff on all Chinese goods, their business is cooked. Their business is cooked. They're so dumb. They're so stupid.
All right, let's talk to these guys here, because they say their top issue is the border. Tell me why.
We have young children, and every day you turn on the news and you see scary things happening, and it's happening everywhere in the country. So
this makes my blood boil, dude. It's like, every day I see scary things happening. Oh, I heard that Venezuelans took over a goddamn apartment. I heard that Haitians are eating cats and dogs, and I'm terrified of it. Terrified of it. That's why I'm voting for Donald Trump. It's like, yeah, dude, not everything you see in the news is real, okay? A lot of it, as a matter of fact, is wrong. You are being duped. All of these independent thinkers, all of these supposed independent thinkers, these free thinkers, are just like turning on the TV and just being scared about how every other place is bedlam. Not their neighborhood. Crime is on the rise everywhere, just not my neighborhood. That is the most consistent take. If you listen to these guys, liberals and Republicans alike, they're always like, crime is out of control. Crime is out of control. And then when they're asked, like, where is the crime out of control? They're like, somewhere else. Not in my neighborhood. My neighborhood's fine. Okay. Immigrants, they're doing crazy crimes. They're doing crazy crimes. Where have you seen it? Have you seen it personally? No. Somewhere else. Have you met someone who you knew was an undocumented immigrant? No. Somewhere else. It's always somewhere else. Yeah, it's on television, dude. Crime is up. Crime is going up, but surely not in Texas or Florida. Yeah, I mean, it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. That's why so many dumb, for example, think that like the gun violence rate or the like violent crime rate is higher in a blue state like California than it is in a red state like South Carolina, for example. They're wrong. They're just wrong. And I remember in Oklahoma, they literally had this argument. I think it was the Senate race, or it might have been the gubernatorial race, where like the Democratic candidate was like, you know, our rate of gun violence is like significantly higher than blue states, right? And he's like, look at this idiot. Imagine saying that. And I couldn't believe it. Like, it's just like, she's right. Like, she's literally right. It just boggles the mind that people are so confident in their ignorance, so wrong, so consistently wrong. And then the crowd laughed at them too. The crowd laughed at the person saying like the correct thing. And the moderators didn't even check it. Here, this is what's frustrating. Like, Oklahoma Democrat mocked for rightly saying state has higher crime than New York and California. Okay. This was in the midterms. Okay. This was in the midterms. And I need you to understand that she is 100% factually correct. When I tell you that it does not matter, like being right doesn't matter any longer for so many people, this is one of the million different reasons why I am a firm and committed believer that the narrative is more important than the truth nowadays, okay?
So let's talk about the facts. The fact is, the rates of violent crime are higher in Oklahoma under your watch than in New York and California. That's a fact.
Well, we'll have that fact checked by the Frontier Superintendent.
It's also a fact.
They're like laughing. They're laughing.
That medical marijuana.
Oklahomans, do you believe we have higher crime than New York or California? That's what she just said.
What do you do in this situation? What the do you do in this situation, chat? He's wrong. She's right. And every single person's like, huh, look at this dumbass claiming that Oklahoma's crime rate is higher than New York and California. That's not what the television told me. We are a stupid ass country, dude. We are so unbelievably dumb, okay? We have purposefully made ourselves dumber, okay? We have purposely made ourselves dumber. Television, social media, all this is just making people stupider and stupider as days go by. Like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do in this situation? What do you do in this situation where, like, narrative is more important than the truth? What the do you do? Yeah. The red state murder rate was 33% higher than the blue state murder rate in both 2021 and 2022, which is when the murder rate was actually skyrocketing. Like, this frustrates me to no end. Like, this is not a partisan thing, okay? I, as you guys probably know, have a lot of issues with both parties, okay? Obviously, one is significantly worse than the other, but I'm very critical of both parties here. But I call balls as strikes. And this right here, like this idea, this way of operating is not a partisan problem at all. This transcends ideological boundaries. This is legitimately an overarching issue for the future of this country. And I don't think people are taking it seriously enough. Okay? It's scary and it's frustrating.
Those that said that they favor reducing the number of asylum seekers, nearly 7 in 10 voters. So this is just some of what we're seeing early on. We'll have a lot more, guys, as we move our way throughout the night with our Fox News voter analysis. Harold, back to you.
Guys, thank you, Sandra. It's the
Damn,
first
they're
part of what
ripping
we're
through
gonna
these
get
exit polls. I want to see them. I want to see the exit polls where they're pushing through. They're pushing past.
I appreciate what Sandra does.
Supreme Court job performance.
The Fox News voter analysis
strongly disapprove, somewhat disapprove, somewhat approve at 33% is shocking.
Over Greg's shoulder, and one of the ones that comes up says, "How worried are you about the price of groceries, and how much is that on your mind?" 67% said very. Okay, that's how you also get to 70% thinks the country's going in the wrong
direction. So they're going to pick and choose all the things that they think favor Donald Trump without recognizing that, like, Kamala Harris actually has had significant policies. Like, for the cost of groceries, for example, like, I'm willing to bet that the reason why Kamala Harris is caught up to Donald Trump on the economy broadly is precisely because Trump has no good answers for it. And Kamala Harris has actually, at the very least, has brought up a solution to price gouging, for example. So I think that is not exactly something that favors Donald Trump unconditionally. American exit polls are pretty crazy, by the way, because exit polls are like, should we institute full-blown communism? 60% of Americans say yes. Should we do full tilt fascism? 30% of Americans say yes. And then the Democrats are like, we need to tack to the center. What we need to do is tack to the center more, maybe even become more right-wing. And it's like, you didn't see the immigration numbers? I did. Fox News' own national poll showed that if given the option between the two, 56% of Americans want conditional amnesty, pathways to citizenship, versus 40% of Americans that want deportation. So that is an incredibly consistent result across the board. When asked, Americans overwhelmingly and consistently support, there it is, chance for legal status, 56%, deportation, 43%. There you go. There you go. It literally just, I'm so glad that they just showed that, albeit for a brief moment. It is always, and by the way, it has always been the case. This is why I lose my hair and I lose my mind when the conversation of immigration or the conversation on trans issues are so tacked to the right. Like, the starting position in the media, both from liberal outlets and also across the board, is always centering right-wing opinions, okay? I despise that. I despise it because it does not reflect the broader attitudes of the American populace. Okay? Americans are nowhere near as reactionary as they are represented in the media. Okay? This pisses me off. That's why you hear from MAGA supporters consistently that say, oh yeah, we want to build a wall, brother, who then will turn around and in the same breath tell you, oh yeah, no, if there are immigrants that have been living here for a very long time, then, they should get conditional amnesty. We are a nation comprised of immigrants. And not only are we a nation comprised of immigrants, we broadly have more positive attitudes on immigration than our European counterparts. Okay? This last election cycle being a basically Republican primary on the issue of immigration does not change that reality. I am still very upset with the fact that the Democrats have presented a false narrative on this issue and have tacked to the center, and not even the center, tacked to the right on this issue. But the reality of the matter is most Americans will still go out and vote for Kamala Harris, regardless of that calculation, regardless of the fact that they are more pro-immigrant than Kamala Harris. Do you understand? Just like not every person that's voting for Donald Trump is voting specifically because they want to do bloody murder on migrants, okay? There are two major indicators for this. I always repeat this over and over again. Republicans vote for policy that they do not think about the impact of. That's number one, okay? Republicans always think, oh yeah, I'm pro-life. Who gives a right? They either don't care about the potential consequences of that legislation passing or think that it will be fine, okay? And then when it's no longer a hypothetical situation and actual reality, you see the results. People are very frustrated with the restrictions on abortion. Republicans themselves are very frustrated on the restrictions on abortion. That's why Donald Trump immediately was like, oh, I think that there should be exceptions. I'm actually the godfather of abortion. I'm the godfather of IVF. So this is something that you need to understand. The second part of this is also, like I said, Republicans, one, don't know the impact of the policy that they're advocating for. And when met with the impact, and there's polling on this as well, when they ask them, like, well, this is how it's going to play out if you, do you still agree with this policy? They don't believe it. They're like, nah, that's not correct. One of the easiest answers I can give you is the overall disapproval of Obamacare, especially amongst Republicans. I don't know why you think Americans are progressive than they actually are. I just described it to you. Oh my God. You're literally looking at one of these examples right in front of you. I'm not fantasizing about an America that is like technically more progressive. I'm telling you with actual data points that Americans are broadly more progressive than the way that they are presented, the way that they are represented in the media, okay? Americans will say, especially Republicans, for example, will say they hate Obamacare. When asked about the ACA, like, for example, the fact that 26-year-olds can stay under their parents' health care plan, or the fact that they have stopped insurance providers from denying insurance to people with pre-existing conditions, they say they love that. Even Medicaid, which is a Band-Aid solution, but, an expansion on readily available healthcare at a certain point, if you are too poor to get regular healthcare, private insurance, that's also seen as popular. Republicans refuse to expand Medicaid, and then ballot measures in each of these red states that people fight long and hard for turn around and actually force these red states to push for Medicaid. How does that happen? Why is it that Florida is deep red, but simultaneously they are by 66% most likely going to make marijuana legal? Okay. Why is it that Florida is deep red, but again, by 60+% they are voting to, in a ballot measure, protect abortion? Americans love a progressive ballot measure that is not associated with a Democrat or a Republican. They love that. They vote for it overwhelmingly everywhere. Okay, they vote for it overwhelmingly across the board. They will institute gay space luxury communism if it's a faceless, lifeless ballot initiative in a state like Kentucky. Okay, that's it. There are certainly a scary percentage of people in the United States of America. There are certainly people who want to do harm to immigrants. Okay, 100%. But there's a much larger number of Americans that either A, think that mass deportations mean they're only going to deport the bad undocumented immigrants, that they have fantasized they're out there doing mass rapes and mass murder and drug dealing, or they don't think about how damaging this would be to both the economy and how inhumane this will look like at all. Okay? You need to understand that. Another example I have presented over and over again is trans issues and trans rights. 64% of this country thinks that trans people are unfairly persecuted. 64%. There are not enough people out there who are going out and voting to over trans people, okay? That's just not a reality. Republicans present it as a false narrative that they themselves believe, a narrative that actually, in my opinion, takes away from a lot of the stronger aspects of Trump's campaign, potentially. He could be talking about the economy and how he's going to fix it, but he has no really good solutions for it, but that's besides the point. But he could technically still talk about every moment that he's talking about how, like, we're going to kill trans people. We're going to make sure they're trying to make your daughter trans. They're trying to make your son trans, whatever the right? Every moment that he's talking about that is a moment where he's not talking about the economy. It is a waste of space. It is a waste of tens of millions of dollars. Donald Trump himself also literally said in yesterday's rally that no one organically has ever brought up the trans issue to him. In his rally last night, he admitted that. Donald Trump admitted that again in a rally a couple of years ago, if you remember, where he was like, you know, you guys really love the trans stuff a lot more than even when I say I'm going to lower taxes. You like the trans stuff even more. Yeah, here it is. Trump says he'll keep men out of women's sports, then adds nobody has ever organically brought up that issue to him ever. It's because his crowds at his rallies, the most diehard MAGA loyalists go crazy. They go hog wild when he says it. So he has developed a false perspective on this. And this is obviously the Owen Jones video where Owen Jones went and talked to like some Trump supporters at a Trump rally. And there was a Trump supporter who was like, I wouldn't teach my kids to hate someone for who they are, even though the guy was like openly transphobic. And many people will say, oh, dude, it was because he was on camera. It's like, you think these guys who are insanely transphobic are going to hide that perspective? Matt Walsh literally openly talks about how transphobic he is on a regular basis. He doesn't hide that. You're crazy.